Well, yeah, just you know, I'd be remiss to have city folks up here talking about animal welfare. Um, the election is ahead of us. The council passed the resolution. We can't stop it now. It's on April 4th or April 1st. Excuse me, April 1st. But I just want to just give you a quick overview of kind of some behind the scenes for the event on Friday. We had over 1,300 calls into the dispatch on Friday. Our first responders performed, just above and beyond. They went above and beyond. Their training and all the hours they put into training and effort all were in action on Friday, and we're all so proud of our first responders. We did have two first responders, firefighters, treated and released from the hospital for smoke lung issues. But I will say that I'm really proud of staff, the training that we all go through to be ready for those type of moments. And just, honestly, though, I'll also say that, like, there was nothing that we could have prepared for like Friday. Those conditions, as you all know, were just absolutely terrible. The low humidity, 70-mile-an-hour gust, sustained winds of 40 to 50 miles an hour. I think someone told me, Rob Hill, our emergency management director, said during those type of conditions, fire moves at 25 miles an hour. So if you can imagine working on a house and then realizing it's you can't work on it anymore because it's going to go under, you're already moving two or three houses down. It's just it was sobering to drive around Saturday morning with Chief Essery, who was really carrying a lot of this. A fire chief never wants to see his town put through an event like this, and it was sobering to just go through those neighborhoods and kind of cry with our neighbors and our close friends, standing on their driveways, having to look back at their houses. I will also I'd like to just give some gratitude and thanks for our city councilors. We are blessed that we have city councilors that love this community, want to serve this community, and in an event like this, we're trying to help staff every way they could. They asked really good questions. They gave us really good ideas on how we could just get better communications out, and especially in this recovery effort, our city councilors, mayor included, has been huge in this, and Vice Mayor Jalowski. And so, just really proud of Stillwater. As far as on the recovery efforts, I don't know if you all have been watching or what we've been doing at the Armory. We had a list out Saturday. I think by late Saturday morning, we had a list posted right after the press conference, and we had cars lined up all day dropping off food and supplies and things for the first responders, but mostly for just the affected families. We filled up that Armory with basically made it almost like a Walmart. People could just come and just load their cars. We had tubs. They could just load up as much as they could take and get in their cars. We've continued that through this week. We've continued to accept donations, and families have been coming by, and we're just not turning them away, even if it's in the morning. We did have a pickup event last night that we had a lot of families come in. I would say right now we don't need more supplies. I think we're going to be doing messaging on that. I think my recommendation is we have the United Way link that's raised over $100,000 for the families. It's on the Payne County United Way website. I know the effort that Vice Mayor Jalowski and Rachel Conley and Becky Taylor have headed up has been huge, and it's I love it. It's really targeted. So it's an email. It's stillwaterstrongrelief@gmail.com. And if people send their needs, if they're fire affected family, they can put their needs on there, housing, beds, whatever it is. And then we have charities, churches that have also sent emails into that group saying, okay, when you get needs coming in, we're ready to meet them. And so it's been a very targeted effort. And the other suggestion we've had is just we have two incredible families in this group, in this Rotary group, that have been affected. If you have some extra funds or you have ways to serve them, or people in your church, we all know all these families. I would say any direct. I know they're over I will say the families are overwhelmed right now. They may need a little bit of time, but in the coming weeks, when we tend to move on to other things, continue to reach out to them, give them a $100 Walmart card, whatever you can do to help them. Yeah, it's been overwhelming. I know I'm kind of rambling here, but really appreciative of the support of this community. It's been unbelievable. Stillwater Strong is not just a hashtag. It's like kind of who we are, and so I'm really proud of this community. I'm proud of its leadership, and proud of our first responders. So with that, I will now introduce to you. Don Dodson and Bill Millis. We have Don Dodson, who is our Chief Public Affairs Officer, also our Director of Communications, who is going to do a presentation on animal welfare, and Bill Millis will come up too. He's our Deputy Director of Engineering. So please welcome our staff. You got a mic?
No, I don't. I think that we'll do this. This will be good. Good afternoon. Okay, so as Brady shared, we were already in the process of animal welfare bond election as of January when the resolution was signed to have the election. So I would just say maybe timing isn't optimal as far as the unprecedented and what we had no idea what was to come. We are proceeding with the bond election. We do need a larger facility, and so let's full steam ahead and let's talk a little bit about it. In 2021, staff worked with community members to identify needs within our community. What does that look like? We can't get to addressing wants if we haven't addressed the needs, correct? So kind of sat down and talked about what that looks like. So it was transportation and roads, fire response to ensure that fire response times are as quick as possible, and to cover that area over off of Western and that portion with OSU. And that Fire Station 2, where it's located right now, is not in an optimal place right there by OSU. Both of those passed in 2022. One was in February, and then the fire station passed April 2022. At that point, now we're looking at August when our fire station 2, our new fire station 2, will be open and ready for calls for service. So we're pretty excited about that. The third thing that was identified as a need through the Together Investing in Municipal Excellence time initiatives was animal welfare. And so time for Stillwater is much like maps for Oklahoma City. We identify needs, but we don't have the funding to pay for these things. And so we have the conversation of, do we present a bond and let the community decide and help us with finding that funding? Since that time of 2022, after we got through the transportation sales tax increase, so we would have that shared expense, with also patrons who come through Stillwater. Then in the fire station, then since that time, we have done a deep dive for these 3 years or 2.5 years on animal welfare. City has done a deep dive on reassessing the site location, what is best, the funding. We've dealt with inflation, the highest since the 80s. And really navigating through what that looks like. So what is animal welfare? There's a lot of confusion as to what animal welfare actually is. And some of that confusion is because we have such an incredible humane society, and then we have an incredible animal welfare. The common thread is that they want better for Stillwater, and it deals with animals. So, but animal welfare is adoption, reunification, education, and enforcement. So what they deal with, animal welfare, is code enforcement, education. They are under our Stillwater Police Department jurisdiction, and so therefore they are a part of our emergency response teams. They are the only entity that removes animals from our roadways and public spaces and our parks. So whether the animal is deceased or it's alive, they are the entity that goes and takes care of that for us. They also do investigations of animal-related neglect, cruelty, nuisance, and bite cases. So in 2023, there were 3,732 calls for service. And in 2024, we had almost 1,000 more with 4,760 calls for service. So we are grateful that our community is utilizing this safety resource, and they are using it. Concerns with the existing facility. Just real quick, by show of hands, how many have been to our existing animal welfare facility? Okay, so what I'm going to say is something that you're probably already well aware of. The size of the facility, let's talk about the facility bigger picture. The facility is shared, one half is animal welfare, and the other half is the Humane Society. And so we've got two great organizations in one building. So animal welfare on their side of the house, what they're dealing with is the kennels are there. We don't have enough kennels. We don't. The kennels are too small. The they're I'm sorry. What? Oh, okay. The ins. Counselor Harden and I collab on so many different groups that we're used to, like, oh, hey, this, don't forget this. So it's not energy efficient due to poor insulation, difficult to heat and cool. The HVAC system is unwell, and we don't have enough buildable space at the current where we are. On one side of the facility is the Fire Station 1 administration office, and on the other side is a flood area. And so we do not have not only buildable space outside of the facility, but we don't have enough space inside the facility, not to meet the current community needs and what we anticipate to continue to grow. In addition to that, the drainage systems, if you have been through there and looked at the kennels, then you will see, and Bill will share this with us in just a few minutes, that the area to clean those kennels to remove waste is about 1.5 inch tall by about maybe 2.5, 3 inches wide. So not very well. And if we're just going to take a real quick look at some of our other communities that also embrace the need for the animal welfare services within their communities, Edmond, Midwest City, Moore, Oklahoma City. We don't want to talk about them and what they're about to do. Great things is what they're about to do. They just broke ground for a very nice facility. And then ours, as we can see, we need to step our game up. Oh, sir. It's over 40 million. Yeah, 45 million. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, so these are pictures, and you are probably very well aware. I love that honestly, I sincerely love that the majority of this group has already been to our animal welfare. That is so refreshing to know that. So when you walk in that front area, you've got your adoption, surrenders, medical needs, emergency calls, volunteer efforts, every single bit of that we're talking vaccinations. All of that is right there in that bottom picture, that one little space. So the 5 staff that we have that are certified officers for animal welfare, they share that spot right there. The above picture are crates that we had to bring in because we ran out of room. That's actually in the one storage area that is also the cattery where our cats are. So to talk about a new facility, components, renderings, and floor plan, Bill is going to lead that for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Dawn. We'll start with how the new facility will address a lot of the things that Dawn has mentioned, and then kind of zoom out a bit and look at the floor plan and the site plan. So I won't read all these, but the new facility generally will allow staff to perform all the same functions that they're performing now, but much more efficiently, hygienically, and safely, both for the staff and for the animals. A couple of new things: they'll be able to much better accommodate volunteers because now there's just not much room, and also new opportunities for public education, which we'll touch on that a little later too. Here's some interior views. On the left is an example of the interior kennel. Kind of in the middle of that, at the bottom of the blue wall, you can see the slot Dawn referenced. So all the cleaning out of cages has to be washed through that tiny slot. So that besides being labor intensive, it's also very prone to backup causing issues throughout the dog kennels, and also hard to maintain a hygienic environment doing that. So that's one of the major things that they have to deal with on a daily basis. Maybe you can't tell there, but anytime, so there's no natural light in that existing kennel, or very little, and for the dogs to go outside to get their hopefully daily exercise, you have to leash them up and take them outside. The new facility shown on the right, you can tell by the rendering, have natural light. Also, you can see their access to outdoors, so the dogs can just go directly outdoors, and so you don't have to handle them as much, and they get as much or as little outdoor time as they want. Another benefit of the new proposed kennels is the ability to split them in half. So our capacity is in the new facility will be pretty much double what it is now, but in an emergency situation, they could even almost double it again by dividing all the kennels into smaller ones. Similar side-by-side comparison with the existing cat facilities. Those kennels on the left, or cages, are in the same room where Dawn showed the temporary dog cages. So to go visit the dogs, you have to walk through the cat area. So there's a lot of traffic. The garage door is open, so that's why they use storage too. So it's definitely a more stressful environment for the cats that are there. The new components on the right will address those things. You can tell with the top right, that's called portalized, where the cat can, as is their nature, sleep and eat in one area and go take care of business in another. Right now they can't do that. They're just in one kennel. And so portalized, again, natural light for the cats as well. And you can tell from that bottom right photo a little more of a home-like, enriched kind of environment for them, less industrial and busy than the current setup. We'll have specific dedicated areas for food prep, for medical. I don't think I have a photo of that, but right now those things, as Dawn mentioned, medical exam could be actually on the desk where they do intakes and paperwork. They have to clear it off, do a medical exam before taking a dog or a cat back to a kennel. This photo on the right is it's a sally port where officers can, in this photo, it's enclosed so they can be out of the elements in the winter or in the heat, but also it's enclosed so that the animals can't escape while they're being transferred from the vehicle into the facility. Our facility, we'll see later, has a exterior sally port with fencing and I think is at least partially roofed. We may not be able to enclose it unless the budget allows. But that's probably a good point to mention with our budget on all this. We had the two logos at the top there. We had a pair of architects with a lot of animal welfare experience, but we had them focusing on what do we absolutely need, not what are nice to have, not a lot of bells and whistles, focus on what we need. But things like enclosing the sally port is something that, if budget allows, once we get closer to construction, we'll include it. But it's not included yet because it's not an absolute need. Here we have the next couple of slides, just renderings from the architect of what the facility will look like. Very nice looking, but also pretty basic and not, as I said, not a lot of bells and whistles. Sorry. Yeah, not elaborate. For instance, like you can see that art piece there right in the center. That's one of those things that they've got that included there, but it's not in the scope until we know we can afford it. And also with things like that, and I'll come back to that in a sec. Here you see a closer view, the windows on the left, those are the dog kennel area, so you can see where the natural light is, as well as their access to outdoors. Here's a good place to bring that back up. This is, it looks nice, but it's pretty bare, or pretty functional. And so the prettying it up will come if budget allows. And we also, in that kind of case, and with the art out front, want to involve the local community and get input there rather than just running with the architect's ideas. So I've got several views here, renderings of the inside, and you'll see that it's open, it's clean, it's much roomier than what we have existing, but the dog and cat areas are separated. Here in that glassed area is at least a semi-private get acquainted area, so you're not having to. Rachel Wasserman, animal welfare director, in an interview yesterday was telling me about in their current situation, you can have someone surrendering an animal, someone in tears because they're having to give up their animal, sitting right next to someone joyfully welcoming a new animal. And so now one benefit of this facility is we'd be able to separate those activities and have a more appropriate setting for them. Here's a view of the separate cat area, and that door in the middle, it looks like it's outside. That's to a meeting room that we hope to include, if budget allows, where groups could use for public meetings or group meetings for functions that are affiliated with animal welfare or animal lovers. Here is the floor plan, and basically here just to show you the architects, especially Animal Arts, who is a national expert, was very good at thinking through workflow and how an animal or a staff member moves through their day and locating things in the right places to make heating and air, plumbing, electrical, all those things more efficient. You've got dog areas in the blue. Does look blue, yes. Gray is public and lobby and intake. Purple is cats. Please do.
Just real quick, and it's important to remember that we are not only designing the facility for today's our community needs for today, but for many years to come. So we don't want you to be put in a situation where you're asked to consider another proposition for this specific need. So that is why we have done an incredible deep dive into what we are looking at with our needs now. How can we meet them with the additional 1,000 calls for service in 2024, just 1 year? And how can we meet that for today and then again, many years to come? So just to explain a little bit more about the schematic design and the estimate 12,000 square footage.
Thanks, Dawn. And that's also a good point to talk about expandability, because you can see here that with the dogs on the top oriented at the corner of the building, so that in future as the community grows and the needs grow, those kennels could be expanded to the right, and likewise down where the cats are at the bottom left, that area can be expanded. So now we'll talk about the location. So we did, this map shows you existing animal welfare at the bottom, south of downtown on Main Street, if you're not familiar with that. And the proposed facility near the airport on Hargis Road was formerly known as Airport Industrial Access Road. It's right adjacent to the waste management admin facility, and you can see on the left kind of a list of new and recent facilities that are community facilities that are close nearby to the proposed location. One key there is the facility. They have a relationship with a lot of the veterinarians in town, but we work real closely with OSU Vet Med, and that's 2 miles away and a little more convenient access. So a lot of these things fed together to make this a good site. We evaluated, I think, every undeveloped city-owned property in town, screened out things like if utilities were going to be really expensive, if earthwork or tree clearing. We wanted to avoid being right up against neighborhoods. This location's at least a 1/4 mile from the nearest neighborhood. There are also some other benefits to this location. Before going through these slides, I'll tell you, they're up there at the top right, you can see there's some open space. So we're near some open space. This is within a 1/4 mile of Sanborn Lake, which has a trail around it. It's almost right across the street from the American Airlines airplane and the new OSU Flight Center. But as I mentioned, the site is expandable in the future. The entrances are separate for adoption and surrender. This arrow here is showing the open space I mentioned. It's not part of the plan now, but the plan does allow, if the community decides, if the park master plan addresses this, that we could have a dog park there. That would be open to the public. There has been a lot of public input wanting a dog park on the north side, but this also could be available to people borrowing dogs from the facility itself, to take them out there, play at the dog park. Or potentially there could be a trail connection over to Sanborn Lake, so a person could go over there and walk around. These are training and exercise yards, which again would be movable if we expand in future. The Sally Port that we've already talked about. Separate entrances. And here you may have noticed the building is not, it's off of True North, and it's off of not aligned with Hargis Road there. But the reason for that, as the architect educated us, was for passive solar orientation. And this orientation maximizes the natural light for the animals, and yet with the way the buildings and the windows are oriented, it minimizes glare from late afternoon light, or heat buildup, excuse me. At this point, I'll turn it back over to Dawn to talk about the financials.
Thank you, Bill. And we want to be incredibly respectful of your time, so we're going to keep going through this just real quick. So as most of us know, funding challenges that we kind of deal with in Stillwater and throughout municipalities in Oklahoma is that, well, Stillwater, we continue to grow, and we love that. But as we grow, our needs also grow. And we continue to have an aging infrastructure that we are also trying to address and ensure can keep up with the growth. Municipalities and all departments must continue to meet state and federal mandates, regardless of if additional funding is provided. And Oklahoma is the only state that does not allow ad valorem property taxes for municipals' general funds. So, which we are well aware of as well as one of our challenges. So one of the most common ways for cities and also school districts to pay for needs is through a general obligation bond. That is funded by ad valorem property taxes. It does require a majority vote. For this, it'll be 50% plus one vote. So your vote absolutely counts. The last municipal bond, again, was passed in April 2022 for the new fire station for $9 million, 20 years. And again, that will be ready in August, and we are super excited about that. What we're looking at is a 15-year bond scenario for the amount of $8.75 million. What does that break down to? Just real quick, a couple of examples. If your property, the taxable value of your property was $200,000, then your annual, the most impact to your property taxes annually would be $53.12, so around that $53 area. What does that break down to a month for a $200,000 property? Less than $5. The median home value in Stillwater was estimated at $240,000 in November 2024. Again, just an example to kind of break down a little bit more what that looks like, because this type of, the financial part can be confusing. So we want to make sure that everyone's aware of what that looks like. The schedule, if the proposition were to pass, then we are looking at construction being complete in winter 2027-28. And here is what that proposition looks like. If you want to support the proposition for an $8.75 million bond for 15 years, then you would vote yes. If you do not believe that's best, then you would vote no. As the city, all we can do is ask that you please go vote. Questions: we want to ensure the facility and services meet the safety needs of our residents and animals, are economic for taxpayers, and increase the quality of life. Do you have any questions that we can try to answer?
Do you have an idea, percentage of the residents in Stillwater that own a pet animal like a dog or a cat?
Do we have the percentage
Yeah,
of...
what percentage that own an animal that you
We
might?
we do not have that data as far as how many people in the city of Stillwater own a dog, a cat. But animal welfare is not limited to only taking in dogs and cats or adopting dogs and cats. And when they are responding to emergencies, that has included cattle, deer, chickens, and other forms of livestock.
That's, sorry, that's a good point. That yeah, because we have heard from people say, "I don't have a dog. I don't care about dogs. Why would I vote yes?" But because it also does serve the community. You know, they pick up dead animals. They keep sick and strays off the road. So it benefits, even if we don't own dogs, it does provide benefit to the whole community. Sorry for cutting you off.
No, that's fine. A question came up the table about, and I don't know how this ties in, if they're a separate entity or their purpose is different. The Tiny Paws there by the armory. How does
Tiny
that work?
Paws are incredible. They help us with the kittens, right? So, and they have again, you're talking about three entities that have huge hearts for not only animals but for Stillwater. So animal welfare really is that extension of police, emergency response. They, of course, adoption, surrenders, intakes, but also that code enforcement safety component. And then we've got the Humane Society that also helps with adoptions. And then Humane Society and Animal Welfare tag team on population control. So that's the spay and neuter. Every stray is spay or neutered, microchipped for the reunification purposes, and also receive vaccinations to reduce disease and that kind of control. Tiny Paws backs us both up and helps us with the kittens.
Can I just add into that?
Please.
One of the reasons Humane Society and Tiny Paws exist in Stillwater and they're needed in Stillwater is because our ability at animal control is so limited, right? With kittens, you know, if someone's bringing in a bunch of kittens, like you saw in the pictures, we don't have anywhere to really put those. And so a place like Tiny Paws is able to bolster our ability to deal with animals in a way that really, unfortunately, the alternative when it comes to us is to euthanize those animals. And so those entities have certainly helped make sure Stillwater could provide best possible care to these animals. But part of the reason they're needed is because our facilities are so limited and our ability to deal with them is limited. They do not.
No, actually, Humane Society and Tiny Paws are nonprofits, and so therefore they can collect those donations and have those fundraisers, and they are not subject to what is available through the general fund. And also, now keep in mind, our general fund, as you already know, that's also what we pay for all facilities and park maintenance and streets and water infrastructure, all of those things. So it's all how best, what do we need to address with this limited amount of money? Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea why the calls increased 1,000
I would
calls in the last year?
In a perfect world, I really want to say that awareness has been done well, and so therefore they're utilizing that resource. So I would say there's part of that. We also are great partners and friends with the Payne County Sheriff's Department, and so we try to help each other out regarding those calls for service. So I think it's a combination of all of it together.
You said that you share facilities with Humane Society now.
Yes, sir.
Will they be involved in the new facility?
Well, and we're having conversations. We've been having conversations with them. So we know that we can do better and greater things for Stillwater today and tomorrow if both entities have a space that's large enough and healthy enough for them to do what we need. So we're having those conversations, and what does that look like?
So they're not planned to be in, or are they?
Well, they're not planning to go anywhere, and we don't plan for them to go anywhere. We want the Humane Society to be able to do what they need. So if the proposition were to pass, we can't put the cart before the horse. If the proposition were to pass, it would be a really great conversation to have as to having two facilities that are larger for both entities.
The answer to the question is no. The Humane Society is not going to be housing in the new facility. We would look at allowing them to have the full facility that we currently have. So the part that we're moving out of, they could come into.
And maybe I misunderstood your question, but exactly what Brady said is what I was saying. That they would have that facility, and we're having those conversations, and what does that look like? Any other questions? Okay, thank you all so much.
So thank you guys for coming.
Please remember to vote April 1st. Oh, and real quick, one other thing, there is going to be a couple of candidates for school board at the same April 1 election. There will be 2 different ballots because that school board will affect another county. So you will receive 2 different ballots, one with this proposition and one for the school board.